And we're off. Good morning, everyone, and welcome. We're going to give it just a few moments to let individuals trickle into our virtual meeting space today, and then we'll get here started in just a few moments. Looks like we have a good number of individuals joining us, so we're going to go ahead and get started. So again, thank you everyone for joining. My name is Alonso Garcia, and I'll be moderating today's informational webinar. Today's webinar is titled Getting Insured Through Covered California. And we know that navigating the world of health insurance can feel overwhelming, so we're here to demystify that process. Before we get started, I wanted to share just a quick note that this webinar is being recorded, and a copy of the recording will be shared with you via the email address you used to register, along with the materials and PowerPoint presentation today. We've also reserved some time at the end for your questions, so please drop them into the Q&A feature throughout the webinar, and we'll make sure to get to as many questions as we can before the end of today's hour. I wanted to take a moment to introduce our two outstanding panelists that we have with us here today. First, we have Manoj Govindaya with the Immigrant Legal Defense, or ILD. Manoj is a managing attorney who has been at the forefront of efforts to support ILD's litigation and policy initiatives. He currently oversees the higher education legal services within the California Community Colleges and the California State University system. Today, he will share insights on the immigration aspects of getting insured and ensuring that everyone, regardless of their status, understands their options and rights when accessing healthcare. We're also joined by Jessica Altman, the Executive Director of Covered California. Jessica has been leading the charge to expand healthcare coverage in California since March of 2022. She oversees the development and implementation of innovative strategies to increase the number of insured Californians, improve the quality of care, lower the cost of care costs, and address health disparities. Jessica will guide us through the resources and tools available through Covered California, making the path to health insurance clear and accessible for all. So I'm thrilled to have both of them. So with that being said, let's dive in, and I'm thrilled to welcome Manoj to walk us through the first part of today's webinar.
Great. Thank you so much, Alonso, and welcome everyone. It's great to be speaking with all of you. If we could jump to the next slide, just very quickly about my organization, Immigrant Legal Defense. We're a nonprofit legal services agency based in Oakland. We provide free legal services. As Alonso mentioned, we do work with a number of higher education institutions. We provide free legal services at 9 Cal State campuses and 34 community college campuses throughout the state. All of our services are free, confidential, and they run the gamut from initial consultations to full case representation in all types of immigration law and immigration applications. So let's jump to the next slide. I want to talk a little bit about the concept of public charge, which many of you may have heard of before. It is often the most concerning the aspect of immigration law that concerns immigrants the most when they are considering whether they can use benefits that are available that are provided by federal, state, local governments. So what exactly is public charge? So in the immigration statute, the law requires an immigration officer to consider whether somebody who's applying for certain immigration benefits will become a public charge once they obtain that benefit. So if you are applying for a green card, for example, an officer when they're evaluating your application, one of the things that they have to consider is whether you will become a public charge when your application is approved. Not all immigration applications are subject to the public charge question or the consideration. So, like I said, if you're applying for a green card through a family member, through a spouse, through a parent, through a sibling, you are subject to public charge. However, if you are applying for a green card through something like a U visa or asylum or something like that, the public charge ground does not apply to you. So it is people applying for green cards through family, through employment, and a couple of other categories. So how does the officer determine whether you might become a public charge? They look at all kinds of factors. They look at your age, your health, whether you have any major medical conditions, your income, your education, work experience, all sorts of things. For those of you that have applied for green cards or have green card applications pending, there are questions on there like, tell us about your degrees, tell us about your work experience, any licenses or certifications that you have. Your immigration lawyers might be asking you for a resume, which they can submit with your application or pull information from to answer questions on the application. All of those questions are related to public charge. Um, so as part of the overall evaluation of public charge, the officer is going to consider whether you have ever used public benefits in your past. Um, there are immigration applications that require something called an affidavit of support. Again, you may have heard of this term. If you're, let's say I'm applying for a green card through my US citizen wife, when she is sponsoring me, she has to submit something called an affidavit of support, which basically is it's a document that sort of guarantees her level of income. And in that affidavit of support, she is signing a contract with the US government where she is promising that if I, for whatever reason, ever use public benefits, that if necessary, she will reimburse the government for the cost of the public benefits that I use. So the affidavit of support also factors into the public charge analysis. How strong is the affidavit of support? How likely is that stream of income going to continue? The affidavit of support is also a separate requirement. So there's public charge and affidavit of support, but they do kind of go hand in hand. So let's jump to the next slide to talk about Covered California and this option for expanded healthcare access. So I want to reiterate that using public benefits, using any kind of public benefit, does not automatically make a person a public charge. You might recall that under the previous Trump administration, there was a lot of changes to public charge and a lot of attempts to change which benefits meet the public charge criteria or might automatically make one considered to be a public charge. We have no idea what is going to happen after January 20th and whether public charge is going to resurface in the next Trump administration. The best I can offer you right now is what the law and what the standards look like today. But just know that a few months in the future, if we were to do this presentation again, what I tell you might be a little different. However, I do not want to speculate on what a future Trump administration might do. So turning back to public benefits and public charge, the key factor is whether you appear likely to rely on benefits in the future. So it's not even that you have used benefits on the past. It is whether, based on your paper application and based on what the officer knows about your family situation, your background, your education, etc., whether you appear likely to rely on benefits in the future. That's what you have to overcome. So there are benefits that can clearly make you a public charge, which could result in your application being denied. Those benefits include cash assistance programs that help you maintain income. things like SSI, CalWORKs. It does not include things like um, food stamps or WIC, because those programs are not intended to help you maintain your income. They're intended to help you supplement your income. That's the distinction. The other type of public benefit that would clearly create public charge issues is long-term institutionalized care that is paid for by Medi-Cal. So if a family member or you yourself is in a long-term institution and the cost of that care is covered by Medi-Cal, then you are probably looking at public charge issues. Anybody using those types of benefits that is concerned about public charge, I strongly recommend that you consult with an attorney before filing any type of immigration application so you can clearly or more clearly understand the possible risks. So, what is not in this list? Well, health insurance through Covered California. It is not a public charge issue to, enroll if you're eligible in Covered California care. And for the record, neither is using Medi-Cal. That is also not a public charge issue. So I don't want you to hesitate. If you are in need of these benefits, you can use them without negatively impacting your immigration case. Again, that's what I can tell you today. I don't know what it will be a few months from now. Let's jump to the next slide, which is about lawsuits against this expansion. And, Jessica's going to get into the expansion in much more detail in just a couple of minutes. So President Biden issued new regulations in May 2024 that expand eligibility for coverage under the ACA, the Affordable Care Act, which does provide a path towards healthcare for a lot of people. So those regulations, which do expand ACA coverage to DACA holders, among others, went into effect in May 2024, or I'm sorry, they were issued in May 2024, going into effect in August or September. And in August, 19 states, led by the state of Kansas, filed a lawsuit in federal court in North Dakota with the intention of stopping this expansion and knocking DACA recipients out of ACA coverage. On December 9th, so just a couple days ago, the judge in that case issued a preliminary injunction that prevents the new regulations from going into effect. So under that preliminary order, the expansion as it relates to DACA recipients is stopped. It's enjoined right now. However, interestingly enough, the judge limited his decision to only the 19 plaintiff states. So Kansas, Texas, Florida, the usual suspects are among those 19 plaintiff states. So DACA holders in those 19 states would not be able to take advantage of any sort of ACA coverage. However, DACA holders in non-plaintiff states like California, Illinois, New York, New Mexico, the regulations are moving forward and they are in effect, which means if you are a DACA holder, you might be eligible for coverage under the Affordable Care Act expansion. So with that, I am going to turn it over to Jessica, who will walk you guys through in much more detail what exactly this expansion is.
Thank you so much, Manoj, and hello, everyone. It's wonderful to be with you today and to be talking about this. Here at Covered California, we are incredibly excited to have this expansion to our state's DACA recipients and to be talking about that. But we also really recognize some of the fears and questions about lawsuits, or is public charge coming back, and what is the new administration going to do? And so we wanted to make sure we started with Manoj and just sort of hit those questions right off the bat. And I think Manoj did a great job of covering all the key elements. So thank you for that. And of course, you may have further questions and we'll answer them at the end. Part of our job here is to just give you all the answers, all the details, all the truth that we can, and we're going to continue to do that. But I really want to focus on, right, with all that noise and the lawsuit and all that, right now today, Covered California is enrolling DACA recipients. And right now, you can come, you can enroll, you can get whatever healthcare you might have been putting off. You can fill a prescription and have coverage for it. You can get your annual checkup if you enroll, and it's at no cost to you when you do that. All of our coverage and all of our financial assistance is available to our DACA recipients, and open enrollment is happening right now. And so it's a great time to be having this conversation. I'm going to go through today what on earth is Covered California, what do we have to offer, and a little bit about what the process looks like. And then, of course, I'm happy to take any of your questions. So getting into it and really starting with the basics on the next slide, the Affordable Care Act. The Affordable Care Act, the ACA, Obamacare, it has many names. They're all the same thing. They are a law that was signed in March of 2010 that just fundamentally changed the way that health insurance works in our country. In particular, didn't change the fact that many people, and in fact, most people, get their coverage through their job. Didn't change the fact that once you turn 65, you can get Medicare. But it did change the way that people who don't have those options, people who need to buy or look for health insurance on their own, how they do that, what the rules are, what their options are, how affordable it is, just fundamentally changed. So to highlight a few things, the ACA, and I'm going to use the ACA, but again, all the same thing, Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, created health benefit exchanges. That's the technical term. We call ourselves a marketplace. This is where you can go, compare options, see private health insurance plans available in your area, and compare and enroll. And also, there is financial assistance, largely funded by the federal government, some here in California, also provided by the state. We'll get more into that later, to help you afford the cost of that coverage. On Covered California, we have no income limit, but the financial assistance is structured so the more you need, the more you get. It's basically on a sliding scale. So if you have less household income, you'll get more financial support to pay for your coverage. Second is there were things insurance companies used to be able to do that really were awful. They could deny coverage if you had a pre-existing condition altogether. They could say, we'll cover you, but not for the thing that you need us for, that pre-existing condition you know about. There were annual and lifetime limits on coverage in the past. None of that is true today. So your health, your family's health, you may be the healthiest person ever, never had an injury, don't know what's coming, or you may have a cancer diagnosis. It does not matter. You will pay the same as a healthy person or a sick person who is your age and lives where you live on Covered California. So that's important. We'll talk more about this. We also have standards to make sure we cover all of the benefits that people need. We call those essential health benefits, and parents can now keep their adult children up to age 26 on their plans. All of that, again, from the ACA. Finally, we did also see our Medicaid program, Medi-Cal, here in California, and other names in other states, be able to expand to low-income childless adults. Previously, you had to be a parent, pregnant, or in another situation like that in order to get access to Medi-Cal. So that expansion has been incredible and also went into place because of the ACA. We'll talk more about Health for All and how immigration status has become not a factor here in California anymore for that program as well. Next slide. So again, Covered California, we are a marketplace. We are not a health insurance company. We are not the one who works with providers to form a network. We're here to show your choices. So we determine if you are eligible for Covered California, how much financial assistance you're eligible for, and then we show you what health plans you can choose from and what the cost of each of those health plans will be once your financial assistance is provided to you. We are the only place that you can go in order to buy private health insurance and get a quality health plan and receive financial assistance and the federally funded financial help to pay for health insurance premiums. We offer two kinds of support. The first is, we call it the technical term, an advanced premium tax credit. It's a tax credit that helps you pay your premium. A premium is the monthly cost of your health insurance. So this really means that what you pay each month to just have health insurance is much less than it would be without this program. I'm going to give you a statistic. We know there are many Californians going without coverage. Around 600,000 of them are eligible for Covered California. 2/3 of those would pay $10 or less per month on their premium with this type of financial support. So again, it can be incredibly generous depending on your income. The second is cost sharing reduction. So with private health insurance, there's often, we call them out-of-pocket costs, a deductible, a copay, something you pay when you go to the doctor. These types of financial assistance lower those out-of-pocket costs. We have some federal money for this, and California has also stepped up and provided state money for this. So actually, for 2025, this is more generous than ever. If you enroll in one of our silver plans and say you want financial help, you will see first, no deductible at all. We've gotten rid of those. We don't like them. We think they are an inhibitor to people getting the care they need. And we're also lowering costs for critical services like generic drugs, like primary care. And this program in California is available regardless of your income. So any Covered California enrollee for 2025 can access silver plans with these lower out-of-pocket costs. And again, all of this financial assistance is now for 2025 available to our DACA recipients, and we estimate there are 40,000 DACA recipients of the DACA recipients living in California who are newly eligible for this type of financial help if they come to Covered California. All right, next slide. So just a little bit about us. So currently we cover nearly 1.8 million Californians. We also often people need us just for a short period of time. So if you're between jobs, you can come to us. If your income changes and you lose Medi-Cal for a while and before you go back, you're on us. Maybe you retire and you're not yet on Medicare. So since we've launched, we've covered nearly 6 million Californians, right? So that's about 1 in 6 people in this state who at some point have needed Covered California coverage. Around 90% of the people we cover receive financial help to lower the cost of coverage and of care. Also want to highlight, we have a no wrong door approach. So we are connected hand in hand, close partners with Medi-Cal. So if you come to Covered California, we're going to look at your income. If you have an income that makes you eligible for Medi-Cal, we will help you get there and get to the right place. If your income is above the Medi-Cal limit, then we'll keep you on Covered California and help you through the enrollment process. So you apply, we will help you find out which program you qualify for using our system, which is called CalHears. And sometimes in complicated situations, a household may have some people, particularly kids, who qualify for one Medi-Cal, and then other people, usually the parents, who qualify for Covered California, and we will help with all of that. And we know those can be complicated situations that we called mixed eligibility households. Next slide. We talked earlier about the essential health benefits and that every single health plan on Covered California covers them. And these are really all of the things that we believe people need and want in their coverage. So I want to highlight a few. Emergency services. Anything that happens, you go into the emergency room, covered. We do hope you only go to the emergency room in emergencies, but we cover it. Prescription drugs. Anything that you need if you have diabetes or high blood pressure or cancer that needs drugs, anything like that covered. You do have formularies with each plan that tells you which drugs are covered and they want you to use generics that are less expensive and all of that, but we cover prescription drugs. Mental health and substance use disorder, we'll actually talk more about that. And hospitalization, specialty services, lab services. Again, I think probably everything that you would hope to see on this list in every single health plan. Do also want to highlight preventive services. That includes like an annual checkup, but it also includes vaccines, cancer screenings. If they are nationally recommended to prevent bigger healthcare problems in the future, they are covered at no cost to the patient, again, in every plan that we offer. Next slide. So wanted to dig in, we know, particularly since COVID, particularly among our younger residents, that behavioral health, mental health services is front of mind for many. So wanted to just dig a little bit deeper here to emphasize that we do have robust coverage under the essential health benefits, that all health plans we offer provide mental health and substance use disorder services, including behavioral health treatment. California law requires all health plans here to provide coverage for any mental health and substance use disorder treatment that is medically necessary at the same cost for physical health conditions. So they have to be, the term we use is at parity, or basically equivalently generous in how they cover these services, just like they would cover for something that is physical. So Covered California health plans, just to name some, must cover all medically necessary treatments for sessions with a therapist, for medications to manage any diagnosis, for outpatient intensive treatment, and for inpatient residential treatment if you need that. Also, we do have rules if you can't find an in-network provider that can do what you need, your health plan has to work with you to find a provider that will do those services and have you pay for them as if, or they cover them as if they are in-network. Next slide. Again, just highlighting this concept of parity. Health plans cannot charge more for these services than for physical health conditions, and that includes copays, deductibles, annual out-of-pocket limits, and other things. Next slide. So we are, just to give you a sense, there are 12 health plans that are available through Covered California. Not all of them are available in every part of Covered California. We have 2 plans that are statewide, so they are offered everywhere, Anthem and Blue Shield. Others like Kaiser offer in most of California. Kaiser, of course, offers where they have facilities because they are an integrated system with their own providers. But some of our health plans are regional. Inland Empire Health Plan, they offer in the Inland Empire. LA Care, they offer in LA. So it does depend, and I'll show you that on the next slide. But when you come to Covered California, you're going to tell us where you live, and we're going to show you which of these health plans are in your area. And they each have different prices. They each have different providers that they work with, and you can look at all of that. And we really help you through our system, try to compare so you can find what's important to you. We also have a mix of PPO, HMO, and EPO products. Super technical health insurance terms, I know. Basically, those are words that indicate, do you have to stay with providers that are in your health plan's network, or can you get some benefit to go to any provider that you want? Those types of plans give you more flexibility, but they are more expensive, and you'll have that choice as you navigate our system. Next slide. So I won't go through this in detail, but because you're getting the materials, I just want to show that this sort of chart shows which health plans are in which region, if you're curious and want to quickly look at where you live. But mostly want to just highlight that almost all Californians have choices, and most Californians have a lot of choices. So 85% of Californians have 4 or more health plan carriers to choose from. Over 90% have 3 or more, and all have 2 or more. So you will see choices when you come into Covered California and look at what might be available to you. Next slide. We do also, so important, if you have kids that you're looking to enroll, every health plan on Covered California includes, as part of the health plan, vision and dental for kids. If you are an adult or you're enrolling adults and want vision and dental, we do offer that, but you have to get it separately. So in addition to being able to look and shop options for your health plan, you can also look and shop options for your dental and vision plans, and you can see what plans that we work with here if that is something that you want. We've seen a lot more people as our financial support for health insurance plans has gotten more generous. More and more people have been able to, in particular, also enroll in dental, which is great to see, and maybe something that's within your budget as well. Next slide. I want to just talk about open enrollment and special enrollment periods, so we can head to the next slide. So open enrollment, newsflash, that is right now, it is happening. This is when any eligible Californian can sign up. You do not need a reason. You can have been uninsured for 1 day, 1 month, 1 year, or your entire life, and you can come in to Covered California during this time. Open enrollment runs until January 31st, so there is time. But if you want coverage for all of 2025, so you want your health insurance to start on January 1st, you do have to enroll by the end of December, which is quickly approaching. After the end of January, it's not that you can't come to Covered California. It's just that you have to qualify for one of our special enrollment periods. Generally, that means something in your life has changed. Always, If you lose health insurance from another source, you can come to Covered California and enroll. But other things like moving to California or from one part of California to another, getting married or gaining a formal domestic partner, a change in your income or becoming newly eligible for financial assistance because of that, gaining citizenship or gaining lawful presence in the United States is another special enrollment period. So these are situations where it does not matter what time of year it is, you can come and enroll regardless. And you can go to the next slide. Thank you. So this open enrollment, we are out in our communities. You may have seen our ads. If you haven't, we hope that you do. And if you have, we're glad to hear it because we want to get the word out. This year, our campaign is Let's Talk Health. It really recognizes that our healthcare system is complicated and integrates the concept of health literacy into our open enrollment campaign to reach Californians and encourage them to enroll. So we have new resources that just provide the core information that we hope Californians need to feel empowered to get covered. All of these resources are on our website. They are translated into 10 different languages. There is written, there are videos. I'm really wanting to make this as easy as it can be. Next slide. Just want to highlight also that this campaign includes a partnership with libraries across the state. So libraries across our communities are distributing these resources, hosting events for us, and really helping us deepen our reach within communities. So we're very grateful to our state librarian here in California and the libraries for that. And of course, our expansion to DOC recipients is a key part of our message this year. Next slide. Okay, I want to talk a little bit about how immigration works for Covered California and what the rules of the road are and what the process looks like. So on the next slide. So under the Affordable Care Act, when we look at Covered California, we are available and those who are eligible include citizens, but also those who are lawfully present in the United States. So that includes lawful permanent residents, lawful temporary residents, persons fleeing persecution, including refugees and asylees, other humanitarian immigrants, including those granted temporary status, work visa holders, student visa holders, and now our DACA recipients. So that is who can now, for 2025, get Covered California coverage. Many have been able to do this, most of these categories, since the very beginning. Also want to highlight for California, this is something that is only true in California, as of January 1 of 2024, so this is this past year, all Californians otherwise eligible for Medi-Cal, regardless of immigration status, can enroll in Medi-Cal. So if your income and those circumstances put you at a level that you're eligible for Medi-Cal, your immigration status is not relevant, whether you are lawfully present, documented, undocumented, etc. And so for Covered California, back to that no wrong door, whether you are lawfully present or not lawfully present, you can come through Covered California. We're going to look, are you eligible for Covered California or Medi-Cal, and we're going to get you to the right place for you. And there is no waiting period or what some call the 5-year bar here in California. Next slide. So you may rather, depending on your circumstance, need to provide documents to confirm your eligibility and really confirm your lawful presence to Covered California. So just a list here of documents that can provide that confirmation: your permanent resident card or green card, employment authorization card, a machine-readable immigrant visa, an arrival departure record issued by the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Service, certificate of eligibility for non-immigrant student status, or a notice of action. And what you see here on the right is a screenshot of how we will ask for this information if you're going through the application for Covered California. So you will select first, what type of lawfully present individual are you? And second, what document are you able to provide? Next slide. Okay, just to give an overview of what the enrollment journey looks like. So you're going to come to Covered California. You're going to start your application. We don't want to make you go through all the work to really understand what are you getting at. So first, you can enter just 5 basic pieces of information about yourself and your family. It really does take under 1 minute. Your zip code, how many people are in your family, things that you know. The hardest one is estimating your income. And you're going to get a quick look of how much financial help you're eligible for and what health plans are in your area. If you look at that and you say, yeah, that's something I want to move forward, you're going to go through the process. In that process, we may request documents, like for immigration status. We may also request documents to validate your income, to verify different things for your eligibility. Again, looking at your income, that doesn't impact whether or not you can get Covered California. It will impact whether Covered California or Medi-Cal is the right place for you. And it will also impact how much financial help that you may be eligible for. Once we know that you're eligible, you can proceed with the application process just like anyone would. And that means sort of immigration status. And then we're going to help you shop and compare health plans. We have tools, we have explanations about the benefits. You're going to say, there's this doctor I really want, which health plan covers that doctor. I really want to make sure my premium is low, which one has the lowest premium. Or I know I need healthcare and I want low out-of-pocket costs. So what does that look like? You can compare all of that. You will then select your plan. And then you will set up your payment details. We do have a lot of people who have a $0 premium and there is no monthly payment. But if you have a payment, you're going to need to go ahead and pay that first month's premium in order to really be covered and what we call effectuate your coverage. And then we always like to say, once you're covered, do go ahead and schedule your first health checkup, select your primary care doctor. This is why you have health insurance, so that you can do that. Next slide. All right, so just to get a little bit deeper for our DACA recipients on what that process looks like. Next slide. So Manoj went through some of these things, but just to remind, in May, there was a change in the regulation that finalized an expansion to the definition of lawful presence to include DACA recipients. And so beginning on November 1st, DACA recipients were able to begin the process of enrolling and became eligible to apply for coverage and access financial assistance. We are tracking the litigation that Manoj mentioned and the injunction that was issued that does not apply to California, because to be very clear, California was not one of the states that sued against this expansion, and we don't know the final outcome of that lawsuit. So yes, there is some uncertainty in the long term, but in the short term, there is not uncertainty about what is available today. And so we're going to monitor updates. We're going to share timely and accurate information. But again, right now we are enrolling. Next slide. I cited this number earlier, but we estimate 40,000 of our DACA recipients are uninsured and now qualify for Covered California subsidies. We've estimated and hope that 30,000 may enroll. This just looks at take-up rates in general and applies that to this population. Of course, subsidized coverage is such a critical safety net for anyone eligible for it. And now it is available to DACA recipients. This aligns with the benefits that are available to citizens and other categories of lawfully present individuals, and helps in closing health insurance gaps, which we deeply want to do, because we believe fundamentally here in California, everyone deserves access to healthcare. Next slide. Okay, so this is specific. I went through this, but we're going to talk about it for DACA recipients. So for DACA recipients, starting on November 1, you could enroll. Documentation may be required if we can't automatically verify your DACA status. So your notice of action, your I-797 issued by the USCIS, or your employment authorization card, your I-766, are those documents that you will likely need to use if we request documentation from you to verify. You may be eligible for financial assistance, as 90% of our enrollees are, as well as our cost sharing reduction program. You will be eligible for it because every Covered California enrollee is eligible in 2025. Just make sure you check through the application that you want financial support. Open enrollment, again, November 1st through January 31st, and then special enrollment periods are available to you, just like they are to anybody else that is eligible for Covered California. Next slide. You can see here, just like we showed the screenshot before, you will be able to select that you were granted deferred action for childhood arrivals, or DACA, on our application. So that should be very clear as you're going through. Next slide. And then if we are requesting documentation, you can see here again, that drop down, you can select the correct form. Here we show the I-797 for the documentation process. Next slide. If you are unable to provide documentation, so if we request documentation and if you can't find it, or it's in your parents' house and you need them to mail it to you, etc., this is how that works. So first, you may be required to submit documents, and you cannot gain long-term coverage without us being able to verify your lawful presence and therefore your DACA status. But in this case, we do give you conditional eligibility. So if you meet all the other criteria and all we're waiting on is that document, but you've said, I am a DACA recipient, we're going to say, okay, go ahead and enroll. We have determined you conditionally eligible, and we're going to give you 95 days in order to provide that documentation. So during that 95-day period, you are enrolled, you have access to coverage, you have access to services, but you cannot forget to get us that document. Go through your piles of paper, call your mom, whatever it may be, to enroll. So it's very important that you do that. And this is the same process for any enrollee that may have a document that we need to verify. Next slide. Excuse me. It is very important to know that because of lawful presence being a requirement for Covered California eligibility, that your eligibility for coverage and for financial assistance is tied to your DACA status. So we know that you need to renew your DACA status, and that is very important for health insurance that you do that if you want to keep your health insurance. And it is also important that you keep Covered California updated if there is a change in your status, if it is renewed or if it expires, so that we can keep your enrollment and your eligibility information up to date. What we don't want to see is a situation where you are still a DACA recipient, but we don't know it, so your coverage ends because we don't have that information. And we also don't want to see a situation where you stay enrolled when you really were no longer eligible, because this is a tax credit and there can be implications at tax time if you receive tax credits that you weren't truly eligible for at the time. So we don't want to see that. We want you to keep everything up to date so that we're all on the same page and there are no surprises down the line. Next slide. There is in California, and this is important, a penalty for anyone who does not enroll in health insurance coverage and does not maintain health insurance. This is an important incentive. It was in the original ACA, applied nationally, and now is here in California, a requirement to maintain coverage or face a penalty for 2023 tax filing. That penalty is at least $900 for adult and $450 per dependent child under 18. I repeat, many uninsured eligible Californians pay $10 per month. That is less to buy your health insurance than the tax penalty, okay? So there are exemptions you can file. If you are not eligible for coverage, you are not subject to the penalty. So for example, if your immigration status makes you ineligible, you do not have to pay the penalty. But now that DACA recipients are eligible, this is something you have to think about, because if you do not enroll in coverage, if you do not apply for and receive an exemption when you file your taxes, you could see this penalty. So this is something to pay good and close attention to. Next slide. So how to enroll in Covered California. Next slide. So we want to make enrolling as easy as possible. And we do that by making sure you can enroll however you want, however is best for you. So you can do the entire process online at coveredca.com. That's what we've kind of talked about. You've seen the screenshots. You can do it all yourself. If you have a question along the way, you can chat our chatbot or access a live person via chat if that's what's best for you. You can also call us. Our phone number is here, 1-800-300-1506. If you are starting with your local Medi-Cal office because you think Medi-Cal is for you, but you find out it's actually Covered California that is for you, you can keep through that process. Our partners in our local Medi-Cal offices work with us and Covered California and can help you enroll. But we do also have over 14,000 enrollment partners across California. They're in your community. They are licensed and certified insurance agents, or also community-based organizations that we give grants to or approve to help people enroll. They are available at no cost to you. Any conversation you have with them is confidential. So your immigration status or your family's immigration status should not be a barrier to having conversations and fully understanding the system and the process with our enrollment partners. If I didn't say this, they speak almost any language that you can think of. So you can find an enroller on our website. You can go to Help on Demand to find someone in your community, in your preferred language, and search for someone. We will also, if you call us, help connect you to a certified enroller as well. So we really want to help you again, however we can. Next slide. Well, I kind of went through this, but just to stress, we have over 11,000 agents, another couple thousand navigator partners, and they really are everywhere across the state. 95% of Californians are within a 15-minute drive of one of our storefront locations. Those are places that you can just walk in anytime that they're open anyway, and get someone to help you. So really, again, however is best and easiest for you. We know this can be daunting and complicated, and we want to give you the resources to navigate through it. I think that is my last slide. Let's see if I'm right. Next slide. Yes. So with that, I'm going to turn it back to, I think, Manoj. But before I do, I just want to reiterate, Covered California is an open enrollment. Anyone who is eligible can and should enroll today. If you want coverage for all of 2025, enroll by the end of December. We are open for DACA recipients right now, if you are one or know one or are related to one, and we would love to extend coverage and be a part of that process. And just to reiterate, we are here to help. Call us, reach out to us, leverage our enrollment partners. Our mission is to serve Californians and connect uninsured Californians to coverage, and we're going to work very hard to do that. So thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to hear your questions. And we want to make sure Covered California, not the only one here to help. So I think Manoj is going to talk about how to get free immigration legal services if you need them. Thank you.
Sorry. Thank you so much, Jessica. That was a great overview of what is available for DACA recipients now, which is super exciting. I just want to quickly talk about the free immigration legal services that are available for Cal State and community college students. So like I said initially, the services are available in your best language. They're free and confidential. They're available to anyone affiliated with these colleges, regardless of immigration status. So undocumented, people with status, US citizens, it doesn't matter. And they are available to students, staff, and faculty at all Cal State and community college campuses, in addition to immediate family members and recent alumni of the Cal States. Next slide, please. As I mentioned, ILD, my organization, serves 9 Cal State campuses. You can see the list there on the left. So if you are affiliated with one of those 9 Cal State campuses, you can schedule an appointment through the Calendly link or using the QR code. If you are affiliated with one of the other 14 Cal State campuses, you can use the link on your right. And all the appointments are scheduled online. Some of them are virtual, some of them are in person. It just depends on which campus you attend. Next slide. If you attend a community college or you're a student, faculty, or staff at a community college, you would schedule an appointment through findyourally.com or using this QR code. It is the same scheduling system for all community colleges, regardless of whether they're served by my organization or other organizations. Next slide. So we are definitely eager to take your questions. I do encourage you, if you have any questions about how something might affect your immigration status, you are more than welcome to contact the legal services available at your campus. They are free of charge. They are open for you, so please take advantage of them.
Thank you for the overview. And we only have a couple of questions. So if you have been thinking about one, please drop it in the chat. And we have about 5 minutes or so before we wrap up today's conversation. Manoj, when you were talking about public charge, there is a question about whether or not CalFresh. Can you just explain a little bit about the difference if CalFresh falls under that?
Sure. Yeah, so again, public charge affects benefits that are intended to maintain your income. My understanding of CalFresh, and I should clarify, I'm an immigration lawyer, not a public benefits attorney. Um, but my understanding of CalFresh is it's not intended to maintain your income. It is intended to provide access to food. So the purpose of the benefit is different from what public charge covers. So it's my understanding that if you are receiving certain types of CalFresh benefits, then public charge would not be a concern for you. However, keep in mind, I'm not aware of what the eligibility criteria for CalFresh is. I do not believe undocumented people qualify for CalFresh. It's my understanding that people on something like a student visa do not qualify for CalFresh. So if you're talking to someone at Benefits Cal about the possibility of CalFresh, just make sure you're open and upfront about your immigration status, because you want to ensure that enrolling in any benefit would not negatively impact your immigration status.
Great. Thank you, Manoj. And the next two questions are for you, Jessica. Can you just remind us of the deadline for DACA recipients to apply during the open enrollment period?
Yeah, so the deadline for DOC recipients is the same as for everyone else. Open enrollment runs until the end of January, so you have about 6 weeks to enroll. However, if you want coverage that begins on January 1st, you do have to enroll by the end of December. If you wait to enroll in January, your coverage will start on February 1st.
Thank you. And then the follow-up is if an individual already has covered California and doesn't plan to do any changes to their current plan, do they have to re-enroll?
If you have not heard from us, we will automatically re-enroll you. Sometimes we need, for example, your permission to recheck your information, and you may get a note that says you need to give your consent again. So look out for that. But in general, we have your information. You like where you are, we will automatically renew you in the plan that you have, and we're thrilled that you're enrolled.
Thank you. And I see a couple of other questions in the chat, but they're very specific to that individual, so we'll follow up with them via the chat. So with that, I wanted to thank you both for joining us today. I want to thank all of our attendees for joining this informative webinar on getting insured through Covered California, and we hope that you found it insightful and helpful, and have provided some clarity and actionable next steps for navigating the enrollment process. Thank you to both Manoj and Jessica for sharing your expertise and offering your perspectives on this topic. Manoj, your insights into the immigration aspects of getting insured were really helpful and beneficial. And as a reminder, this webinar was recorded and you'll receive a copy of the webinar via the email address that you used to register. We'll also include some of the links that Jessica and Manoj mentioned during their presentations on specifically how to get legal services, where you can find your healthcare navigators, the enrollment application, and all of those amazing things that we discussed today. And if we didn't get to your question during the Q&A chat, we will get back to you. And then if you have any questions, please feel free to visit the Covered California website or the Find Your Ally if you have questions regarding immigration legal services or additional resources through Covered California. Thank you once again for joining us, and thank you, Jessica and Manoj.
Thank you so much, everyone.